What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast, the official podcast of the New York Mets. Just wrapped up a 4-game series, a very, very long road trip out in California. 2-2 to the Giants. Didn't end the way that we wanted. Didn't end necessarily on a positive note, but there were a lot of really good things that happened in the series, in this road trip, in these games. So much to talk about. When we have 4 games, we always have a dense episode, but I feel like in particular with this one, a lot of it was relatively straightforward. Really excited to get going through this one with you guys. James is out in California. James, how's the California weather treating you?
California weather is treating me so amazingly. The last few days were just lovely. The whole weekend. Oh my God.
The weather out here has also been really, really nice. It's been like sunny and 60 with a little wind. So like at night it gets a little cold, but the weather's been great. Although I don't think you're bringing back the great weather with you, it seems like.
No, it looks like the weekends might be kind of rainy, but I'm definitely bringing back, which is rare for me, some sunburn, which is crazy. Wow. I never get sunburn. My forehead was peeling. I don't remember a time in my life that ever happened, ever.
Forehead peel. That's a rare spot. Right, usually you get the nose, you get the arms, you get the shoulders.
The thing that happened was I didn't realize it because the last time we did the episode was right after that day game against the Dodgers that I was at. I was sitting for the second half of the game, like directly in the center field sun, and I had the sun like right here on my head. And you know the way my hair kind of flops sometimes when it gets later in the day. So I had literally a tan line from my hair because like this part was like flopped down, and then the other half of my head was like burned. And like that day I picked up my hair and my friend was like, holy, oh my God, you have a hair tan line.
That is awesome. I love that. Crazy. I love that. I can't wait to get some tan lines in. Hopefully like soon it's going to be nice, hot, sunny. I need Florida Mark back a little bit because that's when I was getting those rays. I was feeling good. Need a few more of those. But of course, we do have some Mets baseball to talk about. Before we do, make sure you guys follow us on all our social media, specifically Instagram and TikTok, because we've been putting out some killer content. I mean, we're doing some bangers out there. METSDUP, Mets'd on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever social media you got, follow us there. Tons of great content going out almost every single day for you guys. You're going to want to see it. If you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, whatever it is, do drop us a rating, download the podcast, subscribe so that whenever a new episode comes out, because sometimes we drop a little sneaky episode in the middle of the week for you. If we got some interviews, and we do have a couple interviews coming up here. So make sure you are subscribed to the podcast. And if you want to watch a video version of this, go to the New York Mets YouTube channel. You will be able to find it there. Without further ado, let's get it started with game 1. A lot going on this day. You had the Rangers hockey game going on. Rangers, it's now 2-1. Maybe some of you are Devils fans, some of you are Islanders fans, but here on the podcast, we're all Rangers fans. We all support the New York Rangers. So we were feeling good, and it was a great way to lead into what was a phenomenal game played by the New York Mets. The offense absolutely exploded. Pete Alonso's bat has been crazy all year, but in the 4th inning, he really broke this one open. I mean, you just love when you have games like this where the Mets are swinging the bats as well as they have been.
Pete also hits those like really special fast home runs sometimes, and that was one of them where he just gets the bat head on it and just hits it. It goes out like left field like a second and a half, and that was beautiful. And then also another cool home run in this game was Eduardo Escobar off a lefty, hitting right-handed, hit a deep one out. I remember that there were a couple people online when the lineup dropped being upset that Brett Baty wasn't playing against a lefty, which, I mean, there is something to be said there, but we all, as Mets fans, remember that Madison Bumgarner single-handedly stunted Michael Conforto's growth like 2 years when he played against him in a day he probably shouldn't have. But I also want to shout out our little random Twitter group chat of our crew out there. Some of them were pretty heartbroken that Brett Baty wasn't in the lineup against the lefty. Then Eduardo Escobar comes up and hits a moonshot, so you love to see that. And then Brandon Nimmo just staying so hot. He hit almost 500 on this road trip. He had an RBI single off of the lefty, Sean Manaea, to knock him out of the game.
And I don't know if you saw this early in the game. I don't know how quick you got to it, but early in the game, the Mets hit, I think, 2 line drives off Sean Manaea in the 1st inning, which is something I'd never seen. He was literally a pitcher wall. Also, Sean Manaea has gained, the dude's a unit. I didn't realize he was that big. The jersey was looking ever so snug on him, and the Mets were hitting him early. Sean Manaea, as a pitcher, is whatever, right? Is that fair to say?
I think Sean Manaea is doing that thing that we've seen a lot of pitchers do in years past, where you go from an organization that knows nothing to an organization that knows a good amount, and then you're able to kind of figure things out a little more. I heard him do an interview in the offseason on The Athletic that basically that he'd never used weighted balls or really trained with very much heavy weight in his life.
What?
Yeah, so this offseason, he just did it, and that's how he got an easy 3 miles an hour on all of his pitches.
He's never thrown. I've thrown with weighted balls, and I didn't even pitch.
There you go. Well, that's how Sean Manaea has gotten himself from being pretty not good to almost okay.
Almost okay, yeah. Senga was on the mound for us in this one too. Kind of something that we've now seen a few times with Kodai Senga. First 2 times through the order, pretty easy. Third time through, definitely ran into some trouble. But he's also, and I'm going to make excuses because I love Kodai Senga. And what we see, like that top end stuff has been incredible. Like that makes you go like, oh boy, there's something special cooking here. Third time through the lineup's been a little more difficult, but he's had the weird scenarios where he's had incredibly long innings right before he goes out for that 5th inning. And it does seem like something gets a little off kilter, throws him off a little bit, and he has a hard time getting back. Like, I don't want to say focused, but back in the groove of things.
For sure. And we had this conversation off air, like kind of prepping the episode a few days ago. And you made that point. I think it was a really good one because I saw Kodai Senga do something, I believe it was in Oakland, that I had never really seen a pitcher do in my life. And that's in the middle of an inning, run out to the bullpen and throw the ball around. And that does come from having a couple of these starts in a row. The Mets offense just goes off for him, and then he has a long break. But it is something to talk about here that Kodai Senga, a few games in a row, has hit the same wall in the 5th inning, coincidentally the 3rd time around the batting order. The inning started off with Blake Sabol. This wasn't the 3rd time around the order yet. This was 9th batter, 2nd time through. He had a long home run off a Kodai Senga fastball. And then Lamont Wade, 3rd time through, back-to-back home runs, also off that fastball. And then they had a little bit rally with some walks. I think there was a hit or two, the wild pitch that scored the run. And you're kind of just feeling like this keeps happening with Kodai Senga. And we, I think, kind of cautioned everyone as we were coming into the season that Kodai Senga was going to have these high highs. There are also going to be some lows. There's going to be a major adjustment period. We're worried about the 3rd pitch coming around. We have kind of seen that a little bit with the sweeper and the cutter, but the fastball and the ghost fork were the only pitches in this start against the Giants to get whiffs. And they had 4 and 5 each. Like these pitches were getting lots of swing and misses. They look great, especially those first time through. But the sweeper, which is the pitch that we've been pointing to a lot, saying this is the one, it looks good, it has all the right physics, has good velocity, good movement. This is the one that's going to make the difference. It didn't get any whiffs, and Giants hitters did not chase it once.
Okay, yeah, and that's something to keep an eye on. And I feel like, too, in this game, Giants hitters were especially aggressive early in counts because they talked about how Kodai Senga sometimes has fallen into a little bit of a habit, it seems like, of it's going to be fastball first pitch, then either cutter, sweeper, second pitch. And then whenever he gets to 2 strikes, he leans on that ghost fork ball, which, as we know, is absolutely disgusting and still is disgusting. But it seemed like the Giants hitters had a plan coming into this game of we're going to try and jump on that fastball and that cutter or sweeper so we don't have to see the ghost fork because we're not going to hit it. It's just not a pitch that we're going to hit well.
And we told you guys that last 2 episodes ago after the A series that Kodai Senga was throwing that fastball a lot the first pitch. I think at the time, or that game against the A's specifically, I think it was, I want to say it was like 8 out of like 14 batters or something through the first pitch. So this is a pitch that he is throwing a lot in the first pitch. And then you kind of take a step back now. Kodai Senga has made a handful of starts against a lot of different kinds of teams. And we've seen this third time through the order trend come up a little bit. And part of that is just because he is so good those first 2 times around the order. Just to put it in context for you guys, he's faced 72 batters so far this season, first and second time around the order. He's given up 5 earned runs, has 20 strikeouts, and 8 walks.
It's filthy.
Then you just take the third time through the order, 22 batters faced, also 5 earned runs, 5 strikeouts, and 6 walks.
Yeah.
So it's just clear that there is something here, there's an impasse here that's stopping Kodai Senga from going to this guy who's pretty good, who's going to have these like high strikeout rates with some high walk rates, kind of keep runs down a little bit, but probably still be a true value, true talent, like 3.8, 4.0 ERA guy for a full season in Major League Baseball. Get past that threshold, and that's where you find it. That's going to come with experience, going to come with some time, probably going to come with another adjustment. Still love Kodai, but there's definitely something we should keep an eye on.
And again, it's his 4th start in his major league career. We know that the game is very different here than it was in Japan. We know that the ball is very different than it was here in Japan. Even in the broadcast on Sunday night, they were talking about the difference in baseball because I think Eduardo Perez played in Japan at one point in his career. And they were talking about how the baseball in Japan is even just softer, that the Major League Baseball feels like a rock. It's so hard compared to what the ball is in Japan. Affects, grip. It affects everything. Affects how the ball bounces off the bat. It's all an adjustment period, all learning, but there's definitely been so many great moments or little like sparks where you're like, oh, with Kodai Senga, now it's just getting over that hump because that's like the difference between being like a very good pitcher or being like an elite pitcher like we see is through the first 2 times in that order.
Definitely. And you got to just respect the fact that this team did pick him up behind a bad 5th inning. Jeff Neal immediately responded with a home run coming off an awesome road trip. The offense went off later in the game, built a cushion that we could chill. And then the bullpen was nasty in this game. Something we've been saying about the bullpen for a really long time, this entire season, basically. They threw 4 innings after Kodai went out and only gave up 2 hits, no walks, no earned runs.
Yeah.
Drew Smith, again, we know he did blow the game on Sunday, but we'll talk about that later. He had a great outing. Jeff Brigham, who had you guys know. I want to just even talk about this for a second. Jeff Brigham finished that 2nd inning on Sunday, and I got tagged in like 25 tweets.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing that's ever happened to me until there before. It was incredible.
Every time I see a Jeff Brigham tweet, because I see you Mets fans out there, and I see you Mets reporters, and I see you Mets people, you're not listening to the Mets podcast intently enough. That's what I'm learning is the real ones and the fake ones out there. Because the real ones know that Mr. James Shiano has been all over Jeff Brigham from the second that the Mets signed him to a minor league deal or whatever it was. Or they traded for him technically, right?
Mm-hmm. I think I was even on it like last offseason when he might have even been a free agent when the Dodgers signed him. Like, oh, this could be a guy the Mets could bring in like low key for all our Mets up lifers. Him and Adam Conley. That could be the righty lefty mix this bullpen needs to get through. But this Thursday night was a great game. This was also one of those really fun games where, Ronnie's not with the Mets on a certain part of a road trip and Keith was. And Keith and Gary, when the game gets late, when the game gets out of hand late at night, they will just start talking about anything. Keith's brother was like hanging around the booth and he was like, where'd my brother go? Like in the middle of the broadcast. It was 4:20 and they were like talking about that, which was kind of hysterical. Like, what are you doing? Oh, I don't know. What are you doing? It's like these guys have so much fun for these blowouts out west. It's awesome.
Yeah, you really do learn. I don't want to say learn to appreciate, but like these are the type of games where you like go, oh man, we really do have the best guys in the booth. Like, yeah, during the games, they're on top of everything. Like, they're some of the most knowledgeable guys in all of baseball when you're talking about like, doing play-by-play and color commentary. But then whenever like they get like those free little moments and they can just freestyle a little bit, you're like, oh, these guys, like I want to hang out with these guys. I want to have a beer with Keith Hernandez or whatever it would be, smoke a cigar.
It's also these two. Ronnie's there. He keeps everyone in line. Ronnie's the Ivy guy. He's sharp. He's a pitcher. He goes to all these other networks. He's a big baseball mind. When these two guys can get funky themselves, like it's a different animal.
Think about like, okay, so obviously Gary Cohen, fan of both, I'm sure, like because he was a Mets fan, lifelong guy. But like, think about like when he just gets to hang out with Keith Hernandez in like the booth. He's like, I'm hanging out with Keith Hernandez, joking about what's going on, like making jokes, like back and forth. Like, this is a pretty good life to have.
Keith also being from like Northern California. He's from Northern California, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
He probably knows all the spots around the city and the Bay itself. So they probably get a nice lunch those days, probably get a nice bar, have a nice glass of whiskey. Like it's awesome. I love hanging with these guys get weird. And this Thursday game 1 was great, especially coming off those wins against the Dodgers, off the sweep of the A's. Like that was the win. You're like, oh, we're taking this West Coast trip right now.
Yes, we were ready to roll. We had the meme, the sign guy meme ready to go, but it was a little bit too late that day to actually post it. So we saved it for the next game 2, which we can talk about now because game 2 again, I mean, the bats came alive at one point, but the real story of this game has to be friend of the podcast, Mr. Joey Fuego, Joey Lucchesi, having the best start of the year, hands down, by a Mets starting pitcher this season. We love Joey. Didn't expect that to come from him off of his first start, off of, Tommy John surgery, first start back at the majors. And he was just phenomenal. He was disgusting. He had giant hitters in a tizzy.
Major tizzy. Joey Lucchesi, we got to shout this out for a second because if you guys listen to our interview with him in spring training, he said he had massive butterflies for an intra-squad game.
Yeah.
And this was a game in the regular season with his entire family in attendance, which he said he never, ever does. But this was a special occasion because this was his first appearance since June 18th, 2021.
Ew.
Imagine June 18th, 2021. I can't even imagine how different my life was then.
I mean, we were still doing the podcast independently. We
just started doing it.
We were not with the New York Mets. I would love to. I'm going to go onto the podcast channel while you talk more about Joey Lucchesi and try to figure out exactly what episode we were even doing around that time.
Yeah, right. But
June 18th, July 18th, what'd you say?
June 18th, 2021. It was against the Washington Nationals. So it was probably a national series. I hope we did well against because it was the Nationals 2021. Actually, no, Trey Turner was still in that team. And Max Scherzer. They're probably actually okay then. But
they could have done well.
That seems like it was right around that series where they actually made the meme about Francisco Lindor on their Twitter. That might have ignited him for like one of his first hot streaks.
Yes, and the guy who wrote the article, the stupid article, what's his name? I know you hate him.
Oh my God, what was his name?
Did you forget?
I definitely forgot. He's so irrelevant.
He's relevant, but he wrote the stupid article about dumb stats that don't matter, about why Francisco Lindor is not good. And then, look what Francisco Lindor's done since then. He's been incredible.
Oh man, I'll find that later. But Joe Lucchesi was just completely in control all night. And a big theme for the Mets so far this season has really just been starting pitching, not really giving them the length that you would really want out of a pitching staff, especially early, especially when they came in with as much regard as the Mets. And he just didn't even waver for a second. No Giant reached second base after Wilmer Flores had a double, the second batter of the game. His churve was completely churving. He threw it 61% of the time. He got 6 whiffs and a ridiculous 19 called strikes. A team like the Giants, who is so information-based and so prepared, I feel like, for every normal pitching outing, just not seeing that pitch for 2 years, not really having any idea what it was going to be, what it was going to look like, I think really played into Lucchesi's favor. And he also had the curve and the color supplementing it well. The defense was really good. Like, this was just one of those clean, classic, incredible Mets wins.
And we talked about the interview we did with Lucchesi. If you guys don't know about it. We did an interview with Joey Lucchese. Go check our podcast feed in the New York Mets YouTube channel. But he talked about the usage of that cutter too with us. Like, what have you been working on? And he was like, I'm really excited about this cutter pitch. And it was really effective against these giant hitters. Again, might be the first time that they're seeing it. But the fact that he told us about this pitch that he was working on and then getting to use it in real life in a very meaningful game and it work, that's like really cool to hear from our side, at least.
Definitely. We've seen a lot of pitchers with the Mets and across baseball have success using that cutter as a pitch to supplement their normal secondaries against opposite-handed batters. And the Giants stuff their lineups with opposite-handed batters every single game. You guys saw it every game this series. Whenever the Mets change pitching, 3 new Giants hitters will come up for a fresh inning. It's ridiculous what they do, but you have to respect it because they're getting every advantage they can without a very talented roster. And that cutter was a huge deal. Him being able to get those righties out second, third time through the batting order.
100%. And the offense, of course, showed up in this one too, because the Mets ended up winning this game 7-0, which is always just so nice and calming and relaxing. Because like the first inning was a little bit close with like Joey. He had some moments where like, oh boy, like that hung one.
Yeah.
But then from there on, he was cruising. And like we said with the Mets offense, I think everybody except Francisco Alvarez in this game had a hit, and Francisco was hitting the ball hard still. The offense was phenomenal between Brandon Nimmo, Pete Alonso hitting another home run in this game, having another 4 RBIs in this game. Jeff Megill, Mark Canha, Dan Vogelback. I mean, everybody was swinging it.
Shout out one more, Luis Guillorme, 4 hard hit balls in this game.
Yes.
He's actually swinging the best bat of his entire career right now.
We need the sign. We need the sign guy. The Mets lineup is good.
The Mets lineup is good.
Dude, and like, again, to bring it back to, game 4, national baseball, say what you want about the ESPN broadcast, but that does kind of give you a little bit of a sense of like what the national scope of baseball is and like what people are thinking nationally, because we're so hyper focused on the Mets. But they're like, yeah, Mets have a great lineup. Like the Mets have a very strong lineup. But if you ask a lot of Mets fans, they would tell you the complete opposite, and they tell you there's a ton of holes, even though me and you both know it's not true. 1 to 9, it's a very strong lineup in baseball. There's no doubt.
I mean, also, Mets fans will also say that about the Mets bullpen, which has been pound for pound one of the best in baseball so far this season. I think that's just the curse of like watching a team every single day. You kind of wish and expect perfection, but it's hard to get. I also want to shout out one more cool thing that happened this game. We talk about how work the bullpen has been, how long the season is. Everyone remembers. Everyone knows we got 162. We're not even that. We're not even a quarter of the way through yet. Like there's a long. No, we're not even close. We're barely a fifth of the way through, and we had a really nice 2-out rally in this game in the ninth to stretch the lead from 4 to 7. And Bunk mentioned specifically that 2-out hits by Francisco Lindor and Brandon will start that rally. Opposite order, Nimmo then Lindor, because that's how the batting order works. Got the Mets the cushion they needed, so Tommy Hunter could pitch in 9th inning instead of David Robertson. David Robertson also, he wound up not pitching a series. Nice weekend off for David Robertson, but was cool, especially that Buck mentioned this firsthand, like how all these different aspects of the team are working with each other to kind of save everybody. And one stat thrown in from Johnny Stats. Johnny Stats hasn't really proven not many stats from Johnny Stats recently, but Pete Alonso became the 4th player in Mets history with at least 4 RBIs in consecutive games, joining Carlos Beltran, Robin Ventura, and as John says, I quote, my boy Lucas Duda.
My boy Lucas Duda. Yeah, Pete did have the lead in MLB or in home runs in Major League Baseball. Max Muncy now hit number 11, I believe, on Sunday. But Pete has 23 RBIs on the year, which is top 10 in baseball. He's number 2 in home runs. If you're looking at OPS, I mean, Pete's right up there. He's having a phenomenal start to the season, even with an 0 in Game 4. Just simply one of the best hitters in baseball.
Yeah, can I also drop a couple stats about the Mets offense because I just found a few?
Yeah, hit a couple stats for me.
I'll actually make you guess. We haven't done many guesses in the podcast. Those are always fun. Those are always great for the listeners. What rank do you think the Mets are in runs scored in Major League Baseball this season? Like all the teams in the league. What out of 30?
I'm going to say 11.
7th.
Okay, that's higher. I was going to say like bottom, top third.
What do you think they are in WOBA?
WOBA. I'm going to say 12.
10, yeah.
Okay.
Good.
But like
an upper third offense.
Yeah. Well, who would have thought that? Crazy.
Can't even imagine. And that's what the Mets having one of the worst batting averages as a team in all of baseball.
Oh, 100%. Like this lineup hasn't really even gotten going, and they're still playing really, really well. And you saw it in these first 2 games. Of course, the next 2, the Mets don't win, but there's some other things to talk about too. It wasn't like it was the offense didn't show up. We did have some troubles on the mound here. Then Game 3, unfortunately, our guy David Peterson struggled again. Although we said he didn't pitch bad against the Dodgers, he just got like weirdly unlucky. But this game, Peterson definitely did struggle a bit.
Yeah, he did. And I don't know, this Peterson thing is getting weird. I feel like a lot of the fan base is kind of starting to turn on David Peterson. We're really hoping he beats the Steven Matz allegations that have been really coming out in force recently. But there were just things in this game where you could still look to them, just like that Dodgers game where you're like, it's so close to being good. Like, why is this not good? And sorry, I'm just taking my time here writing a timestamp. We forgot to do that so far, so we got to getting the good news in there. But the big thing that happened in this game was that he gave up a 2-out, 3-run nuke moonshot to Brandon Crawford, the decrepit Brandon Crawford. The Brandon Crawford has played the most games as a Giant in the history of the franchise. Who
Brandon Crawford, the greatest shortstop in Giants history, which feels wrong, but it's also very true.
It's super true. Brandon Crawford's like an all-time Giant. Like he probably gets his number retired.
Oh, 1,000%. He won 3 World Series, right, with them? I think he won at least 2.
He does. I think he won 3. And he also grew up as a Giants fan in the Bay. He went to college UCLA. He's like never left the California coast his entire life besides the minor leagues.
And he's married to Garrett Cole's sister. So that's awesome too.
Is he really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh my God. That's hysterical. But this was weird because David Peterson usually is so good against lefties, so tough on them. And last game against the Dodgers, he gave 2 big home runs to lefties. This game gave the big shot to a lefty again. This was a slider that just sat completely on a tee, spun the middle of the zone. And it sucks when things like that happen in the first inning and with 2 outs. And then it didn't really get better after that. Giants tacked on 2 more in the second behind everyone's favorite former Met Darren Ruff and Michael Conforto. Conforto pitch was like 2 inches off the plate inside, and the Ruff was a sinker that was sat low and in, but didn't get low and in enough. And it's just like you watch that, and then Wilmer Flores had a nice home run to make it 7 earned runs for David Peterson in the 5th inning. Another sinker, similar spot as Ruff against a righty, where it looked like Peterson really wanted to try and bury it on the guy, like a little more inside or a little more low. It just kind of was in that beautiful sweet spot the hitters love, low and in, like in the zone. And you like look at it and like the Crawford mistake was real. Like that was the big blow. 3-run home run. That's a bad one. But the other ones were not necessarily bad pitches. I still don't know how Conforto hit that one. It was like 2 inches off the inside of the plate. It was ridiculous. But the stuff looks mostly good. He's still missing tons of bats. And something Mets fans have been harping on, especially this game, is that David Peterson keeps getting behind in the count. It wasn't true in this game. 22 first pitches, 8 were balls, 14 were strikes. He only got 2-0 in a hitter 4 times. He was never down 3-0 in this game.
Yeah, so
he was ahead in these counts. He was missing bats. He just, again, left too many over the middle of the plate and somehow, some way got burned by another lefty for a home run. And this was just a hanging slider. Like that happens. And it looks bad when it's 7 earned runs, but he still struck a bunch of guys out. He's like really, like I'm really still banking on the regression monster to come and help David Peterson. He's an 18 K minus walk rate, strikeout minus walk rate right now. That's 29th best in all of baseball. It's like the same as Jesus Luzardo. Just with much different batted ball luck. And again, not all of his batted ball luck. Like right now, the main stat that's good for David Peterson right now is xFIP. And we've spoken off air about how much I loathe xFIP for the people at home. xFIP takes a pitcher's FIP, which is your fielding independent pitching. It's basically an amalgamation of your walks and strikeouts. And it then makes your home run rate league average. And that's not really a good thing to do. It's a good thing for some players, but some pitchers just have skill sets that are not their home run rate should not be league average. And the way David Peterson pitches now with a lot of fastballs and sliders, he probably will run a slightly above average home run rate with baseball. So I don't like using xFIP, but that 18% strikeout minus walk rate is one of the top marks in the league. And it's near where Peterson was last year when he was pitching his best. I really, really don't think we're that far away from Peterson ripping off a nice streak, and the Mets really need it.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, it was a tough road trip for him. Like you said, the stuff is very, very good. We need him. We need David Peterson too to be a part of this rotation. He's not going anywhere. No. He's shown us the ability to be a very, very good pitcher at times. We're just waiting, like you said, for that kind of breakthrough, the positive regression. By no means have lost any faith in David Peterson whatsoever. Even again, the conversation we had with him at spring training, like the dude's like very cerebral in how he thinks about pitching. So this is just something that like a tinker here, a tinker there, a little Jeremy Hefner special dust, a little magic on him, and I'm sure David Peterson will be fine. Unfortunately, in this one, though, it did not help us. Like you said, that 7th spot was just a little bit too much. The Mets did rally a little bit, especially late. They got guys on, but could only really muster up 4 runs in this one, which sometimes it's just going to happen. Sometimes you just don't score as many runs as the other team. It's possible.
Yeah. And Logan Webb looked amazing in this game after we kind of talked about his struggles a little bit, which we're not going to do anymore. That was kind of rough for us. Shout out Edwin Uceta for saving the pen, going 3 by himself to close it.
Yeah.
Valiant effort by Edwin right there to give us a better shot on Sunday. And then Beatty looked really comfortable for the first time. I felt like in a little bit. That batting average starting to climb. He's not getting to the extra base hit power, but you guys are really starting to see him hit the ball hard. He hit 2 hard in this game. They turned into 2 hits. Brandon Nimmo had another home run, 3 more hard hit balls because he's simply inevitable. And Whiskey Orme had another good game here. And I really want to shout him out because he is swinging the best bat of his career right now. Same amount of strikeouts and walks so far. 33.3 hard hit percentage, which is still like in the bottom half of the league, but right now it's exactly the same as Gleyber Torres and Jeremy Pena, 2 guys who are ascending middle infielders on their respective teams. Yeah,
you and Gleyber Torres.
Gleyber got a hip flexor. He's been playing through it, and he's been bad.
Okay, so that would explain why the regression maybe for Gleyber.
Yeah.
But like Guillorme did have a really good series. He's been playing very well away since we've been getting a little more consistent playing time. This was also the first game that Marte, I believe, was back in the lineup too, right? It was game 3. So it was good to see Starling Marte back and healthy and looking good. It's going to happen. Sometimes you just don't get the hits. And I do think the most important thing, Brett Baty did make an error at third base, I believe, in this one, which broke a streak, which the Mets had. That was their first 22 games of the season or 21 games, whatever it was. That was the most consecutive games to start a season without committing an error in Major League Baseball history since 1900. That's Major League Baseball history.
Ridiculous.
Great defense. Great defense. And we've known this. This is stuff that we've been telling you guys. Great defense. Brett Baty's going to figure it out at third base. And like you said, at the plate, has looked super comfortable. Even his outs looks comfortable.
No, he looks like he's starting. What I wrote in the notes is he's learning. He's very much learning. I think we can say the same thing about Francisco Alvarez. I think we're watching these guys kind of grow up together at the same time, which is nice because they're our two best prospects and they both look like they're going to be pretty good. But it's cool that we're getting these kinks out right now in the middle of April.
100%. Well, moving on to game 4 here, last game of the series. The Giants got to Megill early. It was another one where the pitching just kind of let us down a little bit. And Tylor Megill, they kept flashing a number about the stark difference between his batting average against righties, his batting average against lefties. And in this game, he kind of just got crushed by the lefties, kind of killed by them. He could not really find a way to get them out. Like he could get ahead, then they'd fight and fight and fight, and then either work a walk or drop a hit in somewhere or hit the ball hard. And I feel like that's something that we've kind of seen, but maybe hadn't been practical or put into practice just yet. Like we saw Juan Soto hit that bomb off him the other day. But Megill has been great all year. This was really the first hiccup in his season.
Yeah, it's the first hiccup, but there definitely were these same worrying signs these other games. He wasn't really missing a ton of bats. He was kind of laboring through these innings. And it's just it's with Megill, it's the same thing that we've been saying about him for years since he basically came up. That we need these secondaries to take that step. And it really feels like the sliders seems like taking a step back. The changeup doesn't really look as good as it did. The curveball actually is coming along. That was a pitch I did like what I saw from it on Sunday. But if you guys want one piece of positive vibes from Megill right now, something that actually could lead to some better performances in the future, the fastball is coming back in a big way.
Yes.
And Tylor Megill's fastball is his linchpin. That is the reason that he ascended so quickly in 2021. That was the thing that made him so good at the beginning of 2022. That probably is also the thing that put him on the shelf with the arm trouble. But I think the fact he's gradually working his velocity back up is a really good sign. He had a season high today in his fastest pitch at 97.3 miles an hour, and a season high in his average fastball velocity at 95 miles an hour. And that line right there between where he started the year at 93.5 to where he's already been in 4 starts, 95, that's a huge deal. That fastball was the only pitch for him that was missing bats, and he gave up a little bit of hard contact too, but really most of the damage was done on those secondaries, and we need those to show up. But as far as what is the thing that is happening Tylor Megill as tangible that we can look under past the results, what can mean something in the future, that fastball velocity is very important.
100%. And we also do have to remember it's weird because we saw him at the start of last year, but he did miss a lot of time. Oh, yeah. And he's still relatively coming back from that and building his arm back up. And we always talk about when you come back from injuries, pitchers, one of the things that is you get velocity back quicker. Command is the thing that comes second. It does look like right now Megill's command is just a little bit off. And again, it was really the first bad outcome start that has happened this year. So again, not going to ring any alarm bells for anybody. And we did talk about how the Giants stack their lineups with the opposite hand. Yeah. So Megill has a problem with left-handed hitters early on this season. What did the Giants do? Every single lefty, including good friend Jock Peterson, who of course had to make one of appearance in this series. It was kind of the difference in this game in game 4. He also had a good game too. So it's going to happen. If Tylor Megill had a perfect season, guess what? Mets would not be losing very many games. You'd be like, oh, Tylor Megill, Cy Young conversation. He had a great year. But we also, that's not realistic all the time.
Yeah, I think we've had these weird visions of Tylor Megill as Mets fans forever, because there were some people when he came up comparing him to Jacob deGrom, which was kind of insane. And then people
not fair either. Not fair to him either.
Super not fair to him. And then people really trying to hammer that down last offseason before 2022. Is he the next Jacob deGrom? Of course he's not the next Jacob deGrom. There might never be another Jacob deGrom. No, not many pitchers pick up 2 ticks of velocity every single year from 27 to 31. That might never happen again. Jacob deGrom's an alien. We know that. We saw it happen live. But I just think that Tylor Megill also, we have to keep in mind that I think it was the Mets' intention for him to still be probably pitching in the minor leagues right now. Still work out these kinks down in Syracuse, still trying to figure out, get that slider right, get that curveball right, get that changeup right, find this fastball velocity against AAA hitters. He's been thrown into the fire because we've needed him, and he's been really valuable for us so far. CRA is still under 4. He's still giving us innings when we do need them. And just keep patience with Tylor and Megill because I still think there is a solid major league starter here.
Okay, James, here we go. Now you mentioned him earlier.
Do it.
It's the Brigham minute. Give me 60 seconds. Jeff Brigham has been phenomenal. We talked about him in game 1, right? He pitched in, or game 2? Game 4, he had probably the best outing of his season. Like you said, your phone was blowing up. You're getting tagged on everything on Twitter. You texted me. You were texting me as if this was like your own son pitching in like his major league debut, and you were so proud of him. So give us the Brigham minute.
I really felt that. Jeff Brigham did everything he could to bring the Mets back into this game today. I'm sure if they would have given him that bat, he would have hit a home run. Like, that's what it kind of felt like, how well he was doing based on what people were saying to me. He looked so good. And this was on national television, baby. Everyone saw it. Everyone on Mets Twitter was like, who's this Jeff Brigham guy? This is a guy. You guys know, December, I was telling you about Jeff Brigham. I was telling you he's going to be a stud in this bullpen this year. It only took 3 weeks for him to get there. 3 weeks. I thought when he got sent down, when he was only sitting 93 for a couple months, this was going to take till May, maybe June, when the Mets really pushed it up against the wall. But no, the talent shone through. The cream rises to the top. Pressure makes diamonds. Jeff Brigham, 2 innings, 4 strikeouts. I don't even think anyone touched the ball against him. It was ridiculous. He was throwing freaking, I don't even know, what would you call those pitches out there? They were moving like frisbees. They were throwing frisbees out there, that sweeper. He threw 32 pitches. 14 of them were those sweepers that are stupid. 14 of those fastballs that, again, velocity isn't even there. That's why I even told you guys to harp on the velocity, and it hasn't gotten there. And he's still throwing it with such amazing shape at the top of the zone. You guys have no idea what's coming. And Jeff Brigham is learning. Jeff Brigham is getting better. Jeremy Hefner is sprinkling fairy dust on him because he debuted a new cutter today that he only used 4 times against lefties. He got 2 fouls, 1 call strike, 1 ball, whatever. 3 out of 4 of them were strikes. None of them went in play. They were swinging through everything. He looks amazing. This is my guy. I'm so excited for Jeff Brigham.
If you guys ever needed a reason to go to the YouTube channel and watch a YouTube video just to see James's face, he hasn't stopped smiling for that Brigham minute right there. You've been waiting for this. You've been waiting for this. Like you said, you thought it was going to maybe be May, but it's April 23rd, and you get to do the Brigham minute for the 2nd episode already. This isn't even the first Brigham minute of the year. It's just the best Brigham minute of the year.
He looks incredible. Like random people on Twitter who've never interacted with me were tagging me in tweets like, yo, Jeff Brigham, James Shiano knew. I was like, I did know. I told you guys.
Dude, you're good for 1 random reliever a year. I'm so glad it's with the Mets this season.
No, literally, I text you that. It's a miracle. Mark knows from our years of living together, I will pick off 1 reliever every single offseason that looks like nothing. And I'll be like, he's going to be a superstar. Last year was Felix Bautista. And that one I hit hard. A couple years ago with the Graveman breakout. I was on the Graveman breakout before anybody. And this year was Jeff Brigham. And he could be a linchpin to this Mets team in the bullpen.
No, he could be a super, super good weapon. And like you said, he kept us close in this game, kept us in it. You saw Francisco Alvarez hit that home run that did tie the game up for us, which was great because Francisco has been struggling. There's no doubt. We're not going to pretend like he's playing well by any means. There's a lot of great things going on. Like, he's still hitting the ball extremely hard when he is making outs. Like today, he grounded out into a double play early in the game with the bases loaded, but he hit the ball 110 miles an hour, which not a lot of people hit the ball that hard when they miss it. And he didn't even really square it up. So a lot of people out there I've been seeing on Twitter, and just maybe this is just a little exercise in, listening to Twitter and reading tweets all the time, but a lot of negativity around young 21-year-old Francisco Alvarez, top prospect in Major League Baseball, which is a little bit insane because I don't think people have been able to really scope what's exactly going on here. I mean, we mentioned a couple episodes ago some numbers that sounded like they could have been Francisco Alvarez, and remind those at home, whose numbers were they, James?
Yeah, I tried to deke the listeners here. I read off numbers for a player's first 22 plate appearances of their career, and I said it was Francisco Alvarez, but I was actually lying, and it was actually Mike Trout.
I got another one for you.
Yeah, okay, let's do it.
1967, a rookie catcher. You might remember this guy. He's pretty good. Maybe the greatest catcher of all time, some would say. Johnny Bench. You've heard of him, right?
Yeah, I think I got him.
Johnny Bench, through his first 26 games of his major league career, 163 average, 207 on base, 462 OPS, 26 OPS plus. He hit 1 home run, 3 doubles, a triple, and 6 RBIs. Guess what, guys? You can still be the greatest catcher of all time and have a bad month. Like, this is baseball for a 21-year-old who is also now learning to catch a major league staff, who's dealing with a lot of pressure, I'm sure, put on himself, put on from the outside, whatever it is. I'm sure he's feeling a little bit of pressure. I will say, though, he doesn't look like he's pressing, though. The dude's been smiling. He's also caught a phenomenal game in Game 4. He did an exceptional job. Like, all the catching, whatever that's been said about him, like, I think the only thing is that he keeps the leg on the ground, but that's a thing that they do teach younger catchers now, especially to try and steal more strikes, which he did a great job of in Game 4. The catching was the thing we're worried about, and it's looked great. The hitting is going to come. He's been hitting the ball hard. He's going to start barreling it up soon as he gets more reps, more comfortable. if you're worried about Francisco Alvarez, what is this? 10 games into the 2023 season now for him? I mean, you're a lost cause. I don't know what we're gonna do with you. I don't even know how I fix you, because you probably don't want to be fixed.
He's played 14 games in his major league career.
14.
His whole career, last year included. It's ridiculous.
I mean, some of the tweets, it was very funny because someone tweeted me that he's the worst prospect they've ever seen, which is just insane. That's just flat out incorrect. And also, you're going to be proven wrong. But almost immediately, Francisco Alvarez hit the home run. And I said, bing bong, Alvarez dong. Like, I was so excited. I was like, F you, F you, F you. He's good. Don't do that to me.
That was a great moment in the game because Alvarez did have 2 opportunities with the bases loaded. Neither time he came through, but then hitting a home run to tie the game, he kind of, everything is forgiven there. And there's some worrying things about Francisco Alvarez's start so far that we should point to. The fact he is swinging on the first pitch
a lot,
over 50% of the time, which make me think he is pressing a tiny bit.
He's anxious. He's excited. Yes. He's like, hey, I want to make something happen. And there was one at bat today where he got screwed multiple times on strikes. The umpires
it was the bases loaded second time.
Umpires were horrible this series, horrendous. Like, the strike zone was unbelievably huge at times and then unbelievably small at others.
Today's strike zone was ridiculous on the other edge. They were giving 3 inches out there.
Yeah, and Francisco Alvarez got the brunt of it on a lot of them. So, like, I could see why he's like, hey, I don't want to let the umpires take the bat out of my hands. There was literally one at bat against Ross Stripling where he could not have had a pitch to hit. It wasn't possible.
But then I think we should also point to the fact that Alvarez has looked good defensively, specifically in framing. The Mets spoke in the offseason about how they thought he made strides specifically in framing during this offseason. And right now, Baseball Savant, it's an imperfect measure, and he hasn't caught that many pitches, but he's in the 83rd percentile in frame strikes. That's like stealing strikes for your team. That's a big thing. If you would have told me through 15 games for Francisco Alvarez's career that his defense would look really good and the bat would be, lagging behind, I tell you, oh, wow, I'm ready for that. Because the bat's going to come. There's no doubt the power is real. That home run he hit off Tylor Rogers was ridiculous. Tylor Rogers, since you throw submarine, he kind of treats his pitches the opposite of most other pitchers do. The fastballs will winds up sinking out of the strike zone, and the sliders will winds up having the vertical rise, like the hoppy thing. So he throws that slider up and out of the strike zone. Like, you try to chase guys high. And Alvarez hit that pitch that was what would you think it was? Like 5 feet up in the air?
Yeah, it was
at his eyes, way over the fence.
Yeah, and it was after an at bat where Brett Beatty saw 3 pitches and was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what's happening here. Like, this guy is from another planet. Again, we talked about an alien. Taylor, which one is he?
He's Tylor. Taylor came in. Also, cool that the Giants. Not cool because it's kind of halted the rally. Besides from Michael Conforto dropping a fly ball, but good on the Giants for using their second best reliever in the situation, the 4th inning of a game when they realized how tense the situation was.
100%. Yeah, but Tylor Rogers, I mean, he's like an alien. And Brett Beatty saw 3 pitches and was like, they were all strikes, but he was like, I don't know what to do with this. And I don't blame him. He's never seen anything like that. And Alvarez just came up as first pitch, I'm swinging no matter what. And he hit it, he hit a home run to left field. I think it was 96 miles an hour, got out. Big home run, I think, probably just for him to take a little bit of a deep breath, be like, all right, I'm back. I'm here. And hopefully this is signs of good things to come too. Maybe that's the hit he needed to kind of relax a little bit.
And if it's not. He's 21 years old. He's 4 years. He's 4 years younger than Adley Rutschman. He's a full college experience younger than Adley Rutschman. And Adley Rutschman was 21 years old. He was just stopping to play football.
Yeah, he stopped being the kickoff guy for Oregon State at that point.
Yeah, he is young. He's really young for any Major League Baseball player, and he's really young for a catcher.
Francisco Alvarez was born November 19th, 2001.
Oh my God.
That's so young.
He's young. He's probably one of the youngest players in all of Major League Baseball right now.
Oh, 100%. Definitely.
And
him and Jordan Walker. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's getting better at it. So again, cautioning all Mets fans to please give him a beat because
100%.
He's going to be good. He needs him to be good. But just to wrap up the road trip in general, Jeff McNeil got really hot in this trip. He got his full season batting lines up back to 300, 800 for average OPS. Exactly where they're going to be. So that was amazing. And we lost this game just kind of feel like because all of what happened this road trip, 10 games in 10 days, not that many long starts. Lucchesi was only our 4th quality starter the whole season. Then we've only had 5 guys go past 6 innings total. Bullpen had a lot on them. Drew Smith threw a changeup against a lefty that got hit in the gap. That happens. Whatever. What are you going to do? He's had a great year.
That's what happens sometimes. That's baseball, not to use that term, but that's baseball sometimes. Not going to lose any sleep over that one. Overall, the road trip, huge success. Huge success for the Mets. What'd they go, 7-3 on this road trip?
Yep.
Which I think if you said that before the road trip started, everyone would be like, great. It's just that you went 7-1 and then lost the last two to make it 7-3. That maybe leaves a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth. But 7-3 on a road trip going out west, doesn't matter who you're playing. That's always a successful one when you can win those games on the road, especially when you come back home to play the Washington Nationals. Before we do get going into that, though, we do have the Esti-Met. We're going to go ahead and bring in John. John, what do you got for us?
Good evening, gentlemen. How you guys doing?
Doing well. Back home, saw that last series. Ready to talk about a little Esti-Met here.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, what an exciting time for New York sports right now.
Yes,
the Mets are rolling. Got a playoff series going on between two Hudson River rivals. The Knicks look good. Unfortunately, my Brooklyn Nets. Well, yeah, it didn't work out. You know, I have to rep the borough, Mark. Come on now.
That's terrible. How do you just switch like that in the middle of your life?
I never fully committed. That's the thing, and I'm proud of that. You know, I was all in before I was even born with the Mets and the Rangers. The Knicks, I never fully committed. I do have. What's up?
I have a question, John. There's a good chance at some point in your life you wind up moving out to Long Island. Are you going to switch allegiances then too?
It's not the same, man. Like, I came to Brooklyn, and there was a pride that I had. I had never been to Brooklyn before. I lived pretty close to Barclays. I've spent quite enough time on Long Island. Let me put it that way. And look, I got nothing against any team on Long Island. You know, I don't. I root for everyone to have fun. You know, and unless it's my team that they're getting directly in the way of. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I don't want to see the Devils ever have fun, or the Yankees. They're right there. But
yeah,
I mean that whole series is enough to get me stressed and keep me up all night. It is kind of late at night, so I know that you guys both want to go to sleep. I probably past my bedtime as well. So we'll get right into the Esti-Met this week. Mark, the reigning champion, the four former Mets, I should say, combined for 6 hits in the Mets-Giants series. Another former Met coming to town, his first return back to Citi Field. And of course, I'm talking about Dominic Smith, who obviously signed with the Nationals this past offseason. Trevor Williams also making his return to Citi Field. But Trevor Williams will not be hitting. Dominic Smith will be hitting. And that brings us to our Esti-Met topic for this series. Maybe Trevor Williams uses a pinch hitter. You never know if games go long. The Esti-Met topic for this week, and you guys both got to get the thinking caps on here. It's going to be total bases by players who played first base at some point for the Mets in 2022.
Okay.
So in this series, there are 3 guys that can make that claim. Obviously, Pete Alonso, who obviously probably is going to jack your totals up here.
Yes, a little bit.
Obviously, Dominic Smith, and the tricky one is Mark Canha. Those are 3 of the 7 different guys that played first base at one point or another for the Mets last year. The others, for those at home wondering, Darren Ruff, J.D. Davis, who the Mets just saw, Patrick Mazeika, that's the wild card, and of course, James McCann. So that rounds out.
I've got my number. I've done some quick math. I wrote down the numbers that I think each of these guys will have in this series, and I like where I'm at. James, I'm hearing a lot of writing from James.
I got mine too. It's the last day of vacation here. The pen is very bad, so I'm writing on a paper towel, but I got my number.
You've been writing in your diary. You've been writing, lighting the pages on fire.
Of course, yeah. What else do I have to do at this point?
All right,
James, James, give me the 3 favorite things you've done in LA. Obviously, you saw the Mets win. That's great. What else?
Yeah, saw the Mets win. Saw the Max Scherzer situation live. That was amazing. I went to it, and my friends brought me to an amazing taco place in Venice, like in inland a little bit. It's just LA. The big thing is that people just have these like white tents with big grills making tacos on the street. Huh. This one was on Lincoln Avenue, and it was incredible. They were just so freaking good. Tacos on Lincoln. Number 2, I took an amazing bike ride, like all the way from like Mar Vista, like down this like canal, all the way up to the Santa Monica Pier, and then back. That was amazing. Probably like a 7-8 mile bike ride one day in the sun. I got crazy tan lines right now. It's unbelievable. I had a towel over my neck because I was going to the beach after, and I have a very curved like tan line like in the middle of my shoulder right here. Nice. And I've been wearing sandals a lot of this trip because like beach, sand, why not? I got a little Chacos.
Can't be a shoebie.
No, it can't be a shoebie. And I got these like diagonal lines across my feet with tan lines right now. And then what else did I do that was good? I've done a couple of random things here. Last Thursday was a fun day. If anyone knew what date it was last Thursday, that was a fun day to be in California.
That was game 2 Rangers Devils. That's what you're talking about, right?
It actually was game 2 Rangers Devils. That was a great game to watch.
Celebrating a Rangers win.
Yeah, that was a good one too. I drove through Beverly Hills. It's like first time I ever like was in LA and like actually got to hang out here and had a lot of time to myself. So like driving through Rodeo Drive, Beverly Hills was really cool too. A lot of cool stuff.
That's awesome. Well, safe flight back. I'm excited to see you guys. It's been a while since the Mets have played at Citi Field. It feels like a lifetime ago that the Mets won that afternoon game against the Padres.
Yeah, no, I mean, you were in a different country, John. So the boys will be back very, very soon in Queens.
Very
showing
soon.
numbers.
Yeah,
Dom Smith will be here soon. So guys, let's get to it.
All right.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Bang.
Ooh,
10.
Ooh. I love
drama.
Let's
Controversy.
I almost did 10. I went against the last second.
I gave some reasoning too. I said Alonso
showing his work.
Too.
I love showing the work.
I had a college professor who I got the answers right and took off points because I didn't show my work. They're like, you didn't show your work. You didn't show it the way that I wanted you to. I'm like, listen, like South Carolina, this is stupid. I learned how to do math up north. We're just a little bit smarter. That's how it works. I'm not going to do it your slow, stupid way. Why would I show you the way if I get the answer right? She's like, well, I can't prove that you knew what you were doing. I was like, I got the answer right. What do you mean prove I know what I'm doing?
Mark, I know you well. I've known you for a long time. College professors exist to take small points away from your assignments.
No, 100%.
You're the antithesis of the college student.
For sure. They love taking points off of my assignments. So my grades, they weren't great.
Beautiful. You got a top quality education in South Carolina. Come on now.
Oh, I loved it. I had a great time. Yeah. My grades were that great. But John, as always,
C's get degrees.
C's get degrees, and I'm living proof. As John, as always, it was a pleasure. Thanks for doing the Esti-Met. We'll see you in a couple days at Citi Field.
Looking forward to it, guys. See you soon.
Yep. All right, there it is. I'm sneaking back. I'm sneaking back a little bit into the Esti-Met. You know we're going to make it a game. You know we're going to somehow tie. We still don't have the punishment picked out, but we'll get to that at some point.
The leader in the clubhouse right now is being a full kit wanker for a whole game.
Yeah,
you got to go with metal cleats. You got click clack in the concourse.
As long as the Mets, you think they'll let us through security with metal cleats?
We'll probably have to have someone bring them to the office and change.
That's fair. Yeah, as long as we just wear the credentials around, and I think we'll be all right. So let's go ahead and talk about that National Series. We briefly talked about Mr. Dominic Smith making his return to Citi Field. Okay, so let me ask you this: does Dom get booed, or do people cheer for Dom Smith? What do you think?
I think it's gonna be mostly a cheer, a little bit of a boo.
Okay, I mean, I think I'll be this. Soft, quiet,
yeah,
quiet clap. I'm not gonna.
Mets drafted him. He came up. He played well sometimes. Played not well other times. That's fine.
No standing ovation by any means, but I'm not gonna boo Dom Smith. Clap it up. He did have some good moments for us, some big hits, and again, it just didn't work out for him in the end. But let's talk about the Nationals, who are playing a little hot right now. I think they took 2 of 3 from the Twins, which is making you sweat a little bit because the A's look horrible.
Yeah, you're pulling away, and I think this whole A's moving from Oakland to Vegas thing is going to make this team really just fold in themselves, and they might win 50 games. I think I might be taking you out for Peter Luger's in October.
Can't wait. But this Nationals team is interesting. I think that's the way I'm going to put it, because they could win a game. They're not.
They could literally win a game. Yeah,
they're not so awful, but they're definitely not okay.
Yeah, and I think this Nationals team has a lineup of a lot of players who I'm not going to tell you they're good, but I'm going to tell you they're definitely annoying.
There's something that they do that could be problematic.
For sure. And one thing about most of the hitters in this lineup are they have a lot of free swingers.
Yes.
Between CJ Abrams, Luis Garcia, Joey Meneses, Lane Thomas, this team likes to take hacks. So
Luis Garcia, 3 walks this far through 60 plate appearances this year. So maybe this is a new Luis Garcia, although his numbers have not gotten any better. So maybe you want the free swinging Luis Garcia if you're a Nationals fan.
Yeah, he's the same guy. One guy, though, who doesn't just swing at everything and who hits leadoff in this lineup usually. Someone who's actually jumped out to a pretty good year. Someone who's been a target for me in deeper fantasy leagues. Alex Call. Alex Call right now is running a 16% walk rate. He's not hitting the ball very hard, but he's putting it in play a lot. And he's a guy who I'm just really nervous just gets a big hit in the series, and I really don't want him to.
Yeah,
I'm going to say that now.
He could be the new Andrew Stevenson. Let's be honest. Is Andrew Stevenson still there?
I honestly thought about that because I didn't see Andrew Stevenson on this roster. He might be somewhere. I don't see him on the.
Because if he's in the Nationals organization, surely he has to be playing. They've also got Stone Garrett, who's been scalding hot for them. Yeah, Stone Garrett has been on a tear since getting called up. Also, great baseball name, Stone Garrett. That's a good one.
This team also recently just acquired Jeter Downs.
Really?
Prospect Jeter Downs is going to be on the bench. Might get into a game. And old friend Victor Robles actually kind of played well this year.
So far. But
he's learning how to walk, which was a huge thing for Victor Robles. He's up 9% while he's only striking out 13% of the time now. So that much contact with as much speed as he has creates a skill with his good defense that he of course still has. that creates a skill set that's actually a Major League Baseball player now.
There's a lot of little favorites of yours on this team, just like guys that you like a couple things from. Like got Joey Meneses, Joey Baseball.
Joey Baseball.
We know he could swing the bat a little bit. He's been struggling. You got Lane Thomas, who the real listeners of the Mets'd podcast know about Lane Thomas, and James has been all over him. He's struggling a little bit to start the year.
Yeah, he doesn't look great.
Jamer Candelario, that's been your guy too. You love some Jamer. Shout out to Bengal as well. For some reason, always a Jamer Candelario guy. He's playing third base every day. But you hear the names that we're saying, and this just isn't a very good team.
And also, they have two former top prospects in the team are also playing okay ball between Keibert Ruiz and CJ Abrams. Like, basically, this team isn't good, but the lineup itself is rich with guys who could be Major League Baseball players.
The A's walk all over them. The Nationals, you still have to play pretty good baseball to beat them. You can't just show up to the park and beat the Nationals. That's how we'll play. But if you do show up to the park and play just a little bit of baseball, you should. You shouldn't have a difficult time. And on the mound, they've actually not been bad starting pitching wise. They've had a couple good starts by guys. One former Met, Trevor Williams, has looked great for this team again. What do you know? Trevor Williams is just kind of solid.
No, the Mets still won the Trevor Williams PCA trade. Like, there's no doubt of that. But he's been good. He was always good. Now we're going to get to a situation where Monday the Mets still not named a starting pitcher, right?
Well, yeah, because they have the off day on Monday. So Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah.
Tuesday is going to be the day, and they don't really have to because now you have that extra off day. So you can almost have your choice between two.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Because it would make we can't. It's not our job to speculate, but we know who the Nationals have this series. It's going to be Josiah Gray, who the Mets have hit a lot of home runs off in the past. Mackenzie Gore, who while he has some things he does well, specifically his breaking ball from the left side, get that velocity back. I'm not really afraid of Mackenzie Gore at all. And then we're gonna see old friend Trevor Williams Thursday night, hopefully.
The thing with Mackenzie Gore too is that he doesn't always attack the zone. He's a bit of a nibbler, and he kind of lives around the outside a lot. And for the Mets, who just break pitchers down, have really good at bats. Like even today, when Ross Stripling was kind of grooving at one point, the Mets were still just like making him throw a lot of pitches for a guy who doesn't throw a lot of pitches, who's he's a strike thrower. So the matchup against Mackenzie Gore, I'm saying it, but like I feel good about that one with the way that this Mets offense works.
Yeah, and also just another big part about this Nationals team, a real reason that that you probably think that you're going to have a chance against them. I'll read you some of the pitchers in their bullpen right now.
Yeah, read me some names.
Hobie Harris.
Who?
Thaddeus Ward.
These are actually two guys I've never heard of.
Yeah, old friend Anthony Banda, Erasmo
Anthony.
Ramirez, Mason Thompson, closer extraordinaire Kyle Finnegan, Hunter Harvey, Mr. Punk Rock Hair. Get to these starting pitchers, you probably have a good shot against this bullpen. And I just also realized, was looking online, I think Budo is eligible. No, never mind.
No, I don't think Budo is. But yeah, Hunter Harvey, although we do know he throws like 100. So
he does.
He does throw 100 miles an hour. But again, Mets should beat the Nationals, should take this series. Obviously, got to go out and play the games. We know that very well. And we know the Nationals played a little bit of spoilers last year for us. So I'd really, really love to just beat them really badly this upcoming week. We're back home at Citi Field. Super excited to get back to some games, which will be really nice. It feels like forever, like we talked about with John. Haven't seen James in like 2 weeks. Haven't seen anybody. It's been a long time. So excited to get back to Citi Field. Hopefully get some wins against the 5th place Washington Nationals. Anything else here to talk about, James, or is it time to wrap it up?
That's it. Excited to get back to the city. Ready for it.
Let's do it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening and watching this episode of the Mets'd podcast. Remember to follow us on all our social media at Mets'd, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. If you're looking for the YouTube version of this, New York Mets YouTube channel, you'll be able to find that. If you're listening to us, download, subscribe, follow, leave a rating, leave a review, whatever it is. Mets'd. We do appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Follow James on Twitter at
James_Schiano.
And follow me at Giraffe Neck Mark with a C. We will catch you guys after the Washington Nationals series. Have a good one. Peace.
Peace out. See you guys next time.